Hello, everybody. Welcome. Good evening to the Freedom Project stream. Today we have Miss Tanvi Jajoria with us. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening, I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine as well. So, a little bit more about her. She's a counseling psychologist at Better Life Wellness and a recent graduate from the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, PALM, Chennai, with a degree in with a master's degree in applied clinical psychology. She's also the founder of Artsy Cure, at the rate Artsy Cure on Instagram. Yeah, she's it's a mental health initiative working towards building conversations around mental health with a practical approach. Her work has been recognized by a lot of established professionals and organizations in the field. Recently, she's worked with a mental health. She's worked as a mental health counselor at Co Care, and she's also provided pro bono counseling to people in distress during the ongoing pandemic. Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to add to this,
No, thank you
Tanvi?
so much for that beautiful introduction, and I'm really excited for our conversation today. So, thank you so much for making me a part of this. So, yeah.
And we are honored to have you, and thank you so much for coming onto the platform and helping us understand various topics of mental health. So, today we'll be discussing family conflict and how interpersonal skills are related to family conflict. Yeah. So, if we talk about family conflict, uh, can you give us understanding of what is family conflict to begin with?
Sure. So, see, as the name suggests, family conflict. So, conflict is like everyone must know that anything when any situation when two or more people do not really agree with something or are not really happy with the relationship or the kind of bond that they share. When it comes to family, it's something which is a very common kind of a relationship between more than two people. So this equation, the family dynamic that you have within a group of people living together in the same house in the same family, and they don't really find it a very healthy environment to live in, or they have a lot of issues between them, and they are not able to tackle those issues that in a very healthy manner. So when a lot of such issues or arguments or fights get piled up and they get more frequent. So yes, like getting into arguments with your family is a very natural thing. But when it becomes too frequent, or when it becomes just out of your own control, and you have no clue what to do with it, and it's just even more ruining your relationships further, then it becomes more like a pattern of family conflicts. The family dynamic becomes such way that it falls into the in that category, and that is when you really need to look into what can be done with it.
Yes, as you said, it's a dynamic between two or more people in a family, and keeping in mind the current, ongoing pandemic situation, and everyone being more close than ever before.
Yeah,
So, how has the pandemic affected, family conflict in some sort of way?
yeah. So in most cases, people have earlier developed, a sense of personal space in most families, right? But now that you have been living together for like more than a year now, that sense of personal space feels violated at sometimes. That you are living with the same people over and over again, 24/7, and the problems which were not that major earlier have become a very big concern now. Or and it becomes very difficult to coexist with people with even when it's not that you don't love those people or you don't enjoy living with them, but it's like being too close with for a very long time with anyone can also be very exhausting. So even that proximity with your parents or with your siblings or grandparents, and losing that sense of your own personal space is one of the major reasons that people feel that they're not that comfortable living with their family. And there can be a lot of other reasons as well, why how the pandemic has impacted that. Not all families share, even before the pandemic, shared a very healthy relationship. There
Yes.
are families which are very dysfunctional. with the relationship between the parents and the children are not that good. So in that case, if the people have to live together, they have no escape, they can't go out, they can't meet other people, it becomes even more distressing. So,
Yes, that's true.
there are different kinds of families. For people who have a very healthy bond, probably it was a very good time. It's not that the pandemic only impacted in a negative way. But
Yeah.
most of the families have developed conflicts or have developed issues which were not there earlier. Or maybe they were suppressed earlier and now they are showing up because there is no way out. It will come
Yes.
up at some point. So yeah, that's how the pandemic has mostly impacted a lot of families today.
Yes, that's true. And then the topic, like the point where you said personal space, that I feel everyone can relate to, and everyone has their own mindset, and everyone is set in their own ways since the beginning. And then just 2 years ago, everything changed, and there was no sense of personal space. So yeah, that might have agitated family conflict, like you said, right? So there are. So my next question is related to interpersonal skills. Yeah. So firstly, what are interpersonal skills, and how can they be used to maintain family relationships?
So interpersonal skills is nothing but basically just how you are able to interact with the other person. That's what interpersonal means, right? So the way I'm able to interact with you, or the way I'm able to interact with my friends or my family. So interpersonal skills can be used in all our relationships, be it personal, professional, social, whatever. So basically, interpersonal skills is that. So the if you're talking about families right now, so the way you communicate with your family members, the way you communicate with a particular member of your family. So some people in some families, interacting with an elder person has a different kind of norms, while interacting with your siblings is a very different thing. So the way you interact with different people in your life, based on the situations, based on your upbringing, is what basically involves interpersonal skills. When you talk about how this communication can be used in maintaining those family relations, then the first and foremost thing is that, to observe what is the basic communication style in your family. How do others communicate or interact with their elders, or how are you taught to interact with your elders and your siblings? So because like I said, that every family has their own rules and regulations and norms, especially in an Indian context. Some
Yes.
families are more chill and they are more friendly with each other. The parents are very friendly with, but some parents are not. So
Yes,
first of
that's
all,
true.
you need to see that what is the structure that is followed in your family, and then maybe seeing that is that structure really healthy, is it really helping in strengthening those relationships, or is it really acting as a barrier? If it's acting as a barrier, so for example, if someone in your family, someone elder has a lot of anger issues and they get angry at they vent all their frustration on the children. Some people do have that tendency, so how are you reacting to that? So maybe in that situation, as a kid, you might not be able to respond, but once you grow up, or if you are at that age that you feel you can at least respond to that anger in a more positive manner, then maybe seeing that if that person is angry, then what is my role as a person who is being shouted at? So at that point, maybe seeing that okay, understanding the other person as well. So communication is not just about I have to say something.
Yes.
Communication is also about listening to the other person, or maybe giving them the space. Okay, I know that that person is not feeling well right now, or they are really distressed, so maybe I need to give them some space and then maybe get back to them and talk about it. So communication can be in a lot of different manners, and I cannot really say that okay, this is interpersonal skill and this is you should apply, because the situations can be various, very different. For something which I apply in my family might not work with your family, and vice
Yes.
versa. So the most important thing is to identify what is going on in the family and if it is good or if it is not good, and then working on it.
Yes, that's true. And yeah, so you have to. So yeah, basically you decide what is good and what
Yeah,
works in your social family structure, and how is the hierarchy that goes. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
At
true.
least the objective details. If it is something which you still feel that okay, my family works this way, but I still don't know how to work on it, then maybe we can still, explore the various ways. It's not that if you are not currently aware of what to do with it, there are no solutions for it. But yes, that is something I think that can still be explored. So once you know the problem, you can still explore the solutions. But
Yes.
without knowing the problem, the solution might be very blur for you.
Yes. So it comes down to observing and learning. So
Yeah,
if someone's not good at observing and learning, they can obviously reach out and get professional help
definitely,
uh,
definitely.
in certain ways. Yeah. So my next question is, what are the types of intrapersonal relationships and communications?
So like I said, that interpersonal relationships can be any, like,
Yes.
your colleagues, with your friends, with your families. It can be any relationship that you share with the other person or with the surroundings that you have. Okay. When we talk about interpersonal communication, like I said, communication is not just about conveying what you want to say. It's also about listening to the other person. It can also be through non-verbal cues, and or it could also be through reading and writing. So communication, like we text. So we're not really speaking or we're not really talking to the other person, but we're still communicating, right? So
Yes.
communication styles can be different, very different, and every communication style has their own importance. So when I say that listening, so listening, by listening I just doesn't mean, I don't mean that the other person is saying something and you're just there listening. That's
Yes.
why
Yes.
listening is a little different from hearing. Right now you could be hearing a lot of different sounds at the same point. You're listening to me and you're
Yes.
there could be other sounds as well in the surroundings, right?
Yes.
But when I talk about listening is basically giving your attention to that one person or to that one particular conversation completely. Listening in between the lines as well, right? So that's
Yes.
how, that's one communication style. The other person, some if someone is looking from a third person, might say that the only just one person was speaking. But if you are attentive enough, listening to each and every detail, then even you are communicating. So, for example, right now you are listening to me. So, what is being communicated to me, that you are having some interest in what I'm saying, or you want to know more, right? So, even though
Yes.
you aren't saying all of that, but because I know that you're listening, that is still communicating. So,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
how active listening is something which is a very important form of communication styles. When I talk about non-verbal cues, now, so for example, if you ask me a question and I just start looking here and there, or I just start using my phone, I am not saying anything, but you can see that my body language is somewhat like, okay, I'm not interested, or I'm not paying attention. So that is
Yes.
also communicating something, even though I haven't said or I haven't written anything. So
Yes.
similarly, non-verbal cues are the expression of the person that they are displaying when they're talking to you, or the tone that they have chosen to talk with. So the same statement can be said in a very positive manner and in a very sarcastic manner as well, or
Yes.
different ways as well, right? So
Yes.
these things, like, sorry, the volume, at what pitch you are talking, at the choice of tone, even the choice of words, all of these things, this is something the other person does observe, even if they are not doing it consciously, but they can still understand, right? So these are the things that are very important. Writing and reading are something that people do a lot these days, obviously, through texting or through
Yes.
social media. So if I'm using social media and I send a text or I comment on someone's post or anything, still
Yes.
there also I am communicating something. And even that one text or even that one comment can have a lot of impact on the other person,
Yes.
right?
True.
So these are various ways which we all engage in our daily lives, the different communication styles. But yes, every style has their own significance. Every style has their own impact on the other person. And when we see that there is a conflict, we need to see that maybe there is some issue with our communication style, or our choice of communication style, that is causing that conflict at the end. So
Yes.
this can be a major factor in identifying the problems as well.
Yes. So yeah. So again, it comes down to identifying the problem, and where you said, there's verbal and non-verbal communication, and so sometimes for people, it comes naturally, it's easy, like uh,
Hmm.
you've been like so like you've been out and you've talked to a lot of people, so
Hmm.
there you get on like observe and learn, right?
Hmm.
So once you observe and learn, that's where you go forward, right? So
Hmm.
if someone is not out there and is has been indoors most of the life, they've been an introvert,
Hmm.
sort of,
Hmm.
they don't know how to perceive it, like and can this be something that can be taught, or does it have to come naturally for someone?
So see, it completely depends on the will of the person. Like I mean, being an introvert is not something which is bad or unhealthy. It's just another
Yes.
personality type. Okay, people are extrovert, people are introvert. If they feel the need that they really need to, whenever they have the chance to talk to people or they have to talk to people, and they're not able to gauge how to talk or how to gauge their body language and expressions, and this is something that they need to work on, and that is something that we can definitely work on. Like what
Yes.
and even if they don't know exactly, whenever they talk to people, they might have some observations, right? Even if they're confused. So it's not something it always has to come naturally. Yes, you might have to put yourself in those situations a little bit more if you really want to understand people, because if you isolate yourself or maybe just live in your own space, and then if you want, "Okay, I want to understand people," so that's not possible if you don't have people around. So yes, maybe you'll have to push yourself a little bit to come out of your own comfort zone and interact with people to understand more. But it's definitely something which can be learned, and which can be observed and learned as well.
Yes. So another question I have was related to reading in between the lines, where you said the
Mm-hmm.
said previous to this. Yeah. So sometimes people don't know what the lines are, or the lines are blurry in sort of ways. So how can and the lines are not set, yeah. So everyone has their different lines. So how can one identify such lines, and how can they learn about to navigate around it?
That's a very good question, because when we say reading between the lines, and a lot of people also expect the other person, "Okay, okay, I said this, so he or she or them, they should have understood it. I said this much, so this should be enough for the other person to understand the whole story," right? So that's what an expectation usually is, and people do usually fall very short of understanding that I'm not sure if what I'm understanding is right, or if I'm on the right path or not. The best way to go about is to ask and to clarify. So, if a person has said something and you are expected to read between the lines and understand with that short piece of information, and you're not sure about it, nobody else can really help you with that, to be very honest. It's just that the other person who knows what they intended to communicate would be able to help you. So in these situations, sometimes people feel uncomfortable asking their own. If I ask or if I try to clarify, maybe the other person might feel that, okay, I am not. I mean, depending upon the relationship, I am not smart enough, or how couldn't I just get this basic thing, or maybe there could be other problems as well, right? But at the end, you will have to ask. Even if it leads to a conflict, at the end you will be asking the other person, right? That, okay, just tell me now what was the meaning exactly, or what is it exactly that you want. So if you have to ask it after having a fight or an argument, why not ask that question when you are having that confusion? So if you feel that there was something which you were not able to grab in the conversation, be very honest that, okay, I tried, but maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I'm not really clear on that part. So if you could just confirm that if what I'm thinking is right, or you could just clarify. So being honest with what you have understood, what you have been able to grab in the conversation, and what you need some clarification. So best way to go about it is to just be honest and clarify your doubts. That's it.
Yes. uh, so yeah, clarifying the doubt in the moment is definitely beneficial, as you said. And hindsight is a thing that is very useful once it's so like hindsight. So once you're
Hmm.
done with the conversation and you feel, oh, I could have asked them this, or I
Yeah,
could have
right.
thought about it.
Hmm.
in a different way. So
Hmm.
yeah, that definitely plays a major role in
Hmm.
understanding a conversation, right? Um,
Right.
so and if we move on to family conflict again, so based on the current way, people are now if you take me as an example, uh,
Hmm.
I am set in certain ways, and I am not open to various kinds of not open to taking constructive criticism or stuff that way, right?
Hmm.
And I am not good at reading between the lines or stuff like that. So
Hmm.
how can that affect my how can that affect me and my family and increase the family conflicts in a sort of way?
So, when you say that, first of all, it's a good thing that you're aware that this is a concern with you. Okay,
Okay.
that you're aware that, okay, I mean, it could be with anyone that I cannot take constructive criticism. So that is one thing. So when you know that you are not able to take constructive criticism, probably your family is also aware, right? So first of all, if you really want to work on the issue that you have, because I'm understanding that if this is a concern, this might just not be a problem with the family, but with in your other areas of your life as well, right? Because if constructive criticism, if it is something just related to family that I don't want any kind of feedback from my family, others is fine. So you also need to see this that is this concern only related to your family members, or do you feel the same way with other in other scenarios as well at your professional level as well? So if it is just with your family, then you need to see that why is it that you don't need a feedback from them specifically? What is the reason? Where is it coming from? So when you really, one is that एक होता है, one is when you have to just give a first aid. कि, okay, this is a problem. I just did it to manage it, and it's at least gone for now. One is that you really want to work on it. So if you just want to, do that first aid kind of thing, okay, the family members are trying to give you some kind of feedback or some kind of constructive criticism, and you are not open to it. So maybe just being very polite and assertive about it, that right now I'm not really in a headspace to listen to all of this, and maybe I can get back to you and take your feedback later on. Right now I'm not looking for any kind of feedback, so at that point it will be managed. But then if you really want to work on it, then maybe you need to see that why is it that it is a problem for you? When did it start? Where is it coming from? Maybe
Yeah.
you've had experiences where you got feedback and it was not really that, it was not conveyed in a very good manner, and it doesn't make you feel good about yourself at some point. I mean, there can be a lot of reasons. I'm just giving you certain possibilities, and
Yes.
it can be very difficult to actually resolve to this depth on your own, because to be that objective, to be the third person in your own concern can be very difficult. So maybe at this point, to when you actually want to resolve these issues, or maybe see the pattern that has been formed in your life, you can take help of a mental health professional who can give you a better space to explore all of this. So yes, the problems can be solved on two levels. It's up to you what level you're really up to working on.
Yes. So yeah. So thank you for that answer. And again, this relates to moves on to there only. So if as I said, you're not open to taking constructive criticism, and your family, is sort of nagging in a way where they say they keep telling you stuff, and that can lead to conflict as well, right? So there might be many ways of conflict or types of conflict. So can you give us a few examples of family conflict?
Yeah. Uh, so family conflicts can be literally a lot of types. Beginning with, like you said, that family members or parents or caregivers who keep on nagging, because in the Indian context, most of the parents have this kind of belief that they need to take care of their child no matter how old they are. And by the meaning of taking care, I mean that they need to tell them what to be done, what is to be done, and when it is to be done. Right. So that sense of freedom in a child when they're living with their parents, especially after a certain age, they feel like it's just getting too much for me. right? Especially if they're not really okay with it, if they want that kind of autonomy in their life, they might not like it. So yes, when there are problems, the problems arise when parents do not understand that now their child has grown up and they can take their decisions. They can take decisions for the very basic things that they do daily, right? And they don't have to really nag for everything. At the same time, even children can cause a lot of problems with respect to their parents. And sometimes parents' concerns can be very genuine, and they can be coming from a very, a very concerned point of view. But the child's perspective is okay. My parents are always nagging, and they're not understanding. But if the same thing is conveyed by their best friends or someone, they might understand it better. So, this relationship between child and parent, it's not formed overnight. It has been there since the child was born, right? And maybe even before that. So it has become that way over the years. And I won't say that it's just the parents' fault or it's just the child's fault. There are certain things in their relationship which were formed in a way that made them believe my parents are always nagging. So maybe when your parents are telling you to do a certain thing, you might take it in a very positive way. That okay, they are concerned, so okay, I understand. The same situation in the other family might be the other child might think okay, they are just always taunting me or pointing out mistakes in me, right? So
Yes.
it's not just about what is happening in the present, but their all of their past experiences with their family as well. How they have been brought up. So this is just between the child and the parent. Sometimes when, so for example, people are working from home. So it's a total shift of schedule for everyone, even for the people who used to stay at home earlier as well, who are not working, and for the ones who have been forced to work from home. So for all of them, there is a shifted environment, the kind of environment that they share. And for everyone, their problem is the biggest one. Okay, this is my problem and nobody's understanding. And imagine every family member having the same concern. Ki, I have a problem and none of the other member is understanding, right? So everyone wants everyone else to understand their problem, but hardly anyone is willing to understand the other's concerns, right?
Yes.
So when a person is working from home, they want a space, they want some time, they want people to not disturb them and things like that. So they feel ki, okay, now I have to work on work from home and my family needs to understand that. And that's a very valid concern. Obviously there are family members who are not understanding that working from home doesn't mean that we are not working. It's probably even more work,
Yes.
right? So there's a lack of understanding, there's a lack of people trying to understand others concerns as much they want them to understand their own problems. So there has to be a two-way thing. Every member needs to be open to the concerns of the other person as much you want them to be open to your problems as well. So there these are certain things. There, as like I said, there are dysfunctional families. So for them, problems have just gotten worsened.
Yes.
Um, they are stuck with the same kind of abusive family members. There people might be going through a lot of different kinds of abuse and they can't really do anything about it.
Yes.
So that is something that has a totally different approach, and there needs to be a lot of different kinds of intervention and not just based on mental health but their physical safety as well. So
Yes.
that is something which is there. Then when we talk about parents, so there are families where the parents are do not share a very healthy relationship. There are fights, constant fights, and all of that in between them, and that impacts their children. So even though there is no direct fight or conflict with the children, but when those children are seeing all of that happening in their family, and there's no one else, then obviously they are just stuck there, and they have to absorb all of that going on in the family, and then that does have a very long term impact on them until and unless they actually you know realize that they need to work on it. So yes, there can be a lot of. I mean, I've just shared like 4 or 5, but yeah, these are certain very common. Uh, Recently, I'm seeing that even though this has been there in the Indian culture, but recently I have seen a lot that issues with the in-laws. If someone has recently gotten married or they have been married for a while, so they have issues with the in-laws because again they have to live at home, and with respect to women, they are expected to do both the roles in most of the families. right? So they have to work from home and they have to take care of the family as well, or the house chores as well and everything. So for them, it's a double issue. And then they say that people are not understanding that I have to work and do the house chores, so why are not other people doing that?
Yes.
So, family conflicts can be based on your age, on your gender, on the expectations that people have from you. The relationships between other family members. So even if you are not directly involved, you can still have the impact of all of it. Hmm? So
Yes, that's
yeah,
true.
in Indian context, there are a lot of family concerns that are recently coming up a lot.
Yes. And like you said, no one's willing to understand or empathize
Hmm.
is the word I would like to use. So if we use empathy more, I feel we can at least reduce a lot of our conflicts, may it be personal or
Hmm.
uh, professional as well, right?
Yeah.
Um, so on to my last question for the evening. Um, so, how can we deal with family conflict in the COVID pandemic? Currently, you gave us a few ideas, but
Hmm.
now what can we implement immediately so that like immediately after the interview,
Hmm.
how can we move on, or how can we cope, or how can we deal with family conflict?
Hmm. So this one thing that has worked really well in with my clients basically, and based on the most common concerns that like you also said that personal space you're used to it, and a lot of problems are usually arising because of that. At least the current problem, something which has been there in your family for a very long time, will not just get resolved with one thing that I tell right now. But yes, if you're facing an issue like you're not able to get your personal space, or you are being nagged about small things and you don't want that, so there's this thing called boundary setting. Okay, so when I talk about boundary setting, you basically are very clearly and very assertively telling the other person that this is something that I'm comfortable with, this is something I'm not comfortable with, and this is something that I expect you to do. So for example, if your mother or your father is asking you to get up early in the morning, like at 7 o'clock, for example, and you are not a morning person, you know that, and maybe the kind of work you do or the kind of schedule you have, you can't really afford to get up at 7. So maybe they're coming from a very concerned point of view. You do get it, but you don't want that kind of a change in your life right now, and you are happy with what you have already. You're happy with waking up at a later time. Okay, it's not really impacting your life. So then you can clearly tell them that I really understand that why you want me to wake up early, and I do understand that waking up early has its own benefits and all of that. But currently, I'm really not in a headspace to uh, get into waking up at 7, because the schedule that I have is completely fine with me. If I at any point feel like I need to make some changes, I will definitely look into that. But right now, I really don't want you to keep on repeating that or keep on saying the same thing, because then I just feel irritated, and I really don't want to feel that way, right? So what usually people do is we just do the last part and not even convey. We just show that we're irritated, and their parents feel ki, okay, this person is just always like this. Whenever I tell them, they're just irritated and frustrated, and they don't listen to me. But the
Showing
middle
attention.
part, which you really want to tell them but you don't, is something that they really need to know. And this might sound very obvious that okay, if I'm not waking up at 7, maybe I don't want it. Why they can't understand? Maybe they know, but when you clearly convey it, even so, that communication gap that becomes, that is there, that is like, I mean, at least you have made the effort to bridge that communication gap, right?
Yes.
From your end, it's done. And when we talk about resolving family conflicts, I mean, it's a very basic thing that if there's a conflict between two people or more than two people, you can't
Yes.
really do that much at an individual level. You can definitely learn to manage yourself. You can definitely learn to, you know, build some healthy coping mechanisms to deal with very difficult situations. But you can't resolve it if all the, stakeholders are not there. So if there's a family conflict between a family of 4 members and it's just you who are wanting to work on it, You can just work on yourself, or maybe you can just do so much that the family conflicts reduce or something happens, but you can't resolve them to the core until and unless all four members are contributing to the to the process. So it's very important to understand that you can't really take responsibility for everyone. You can just do what you can do at individual level. So, and in India, family conflicts are there. Like obviously, we all know that, um, and the reason why they continue to persist is because not everyone is very much into it in resolving those issues. In India, the belief is that okay, if it is suppressed, if it is not being discussed anymore, then it's fine. The situation is better. But we do see its impact later on. We do see after a year or several years, same issue is brought up. You remember in 2012 that happened. Why? Because it was not really resolved, it was just suppressed. And at that point, we felt like, "Okay, okay, now it's fine. There's no point of discussing it." So that's the kind
Yes.
of culture we follow. So, yeah, at an individual level, you can just manage yourself. You can just learn to maybe be with it or let go or forgive the people around you. But if you really want to resolve, you really need the support of each and every person involved in that conflict.
Yes, that's true. If the support is there from everyone in the conflict, it
Hmm.
definitely helps. You know, it definitely helps. It goes a long way, right?
Yeah.
Um, and one more thing that we can take away is we have to communicate better our
Hmm.
thoughts, our resentments, or
Hmm.
whatever we are feeling to the other
Hmm.
person, so that they can empathize, or they can at
Right.
least you know understand a certain point of
Hmm.
view, and even if they don't take action towards it, they know that, oh, like how the opposite person is feeling.
Right. Right.
uh,
Exactly.
so thank you so much, Tanvi. If I could, I would go on for a long time.
Yeah.
There's so much, that you could, like, there's a lot of vital information that you're sharing with us today. Thank you so much. And if you'd like to add anything before we go for the audiences.
Definitely, I would like to say that, like I mentioned in the last, that don't take the responsibility for something which is not in your control. And if you feel that this is something that can be worked on your level, definitely do it. But remember, with respect to family conflicts, the problems are usually not just one way. The problems exist in all directions, and it's not just one person's responsibility. Yes, you can take the initiative, but not being successful in it is not just about you. So people do usually tend to blame themselves, that maybe I am the reason all of this is happening, but that's usually not the case. And if you feel that your family will be up to it, then maybe you can go for family therapy as well, uh, wherein a third person, a counselor or a therapist, will be there to navigate those conversations a little better, because obviously the people involved might have a very biased point of view in every situation, but the
Yes.
therapist is not going to be biased. They are going to be, they're going to help, they're going to be there to bridge that gap. So maybe if you think your family will be up for it, maybe you can try for family therapy as well, and hopefully that can work for you. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, and everyone watching today will definitely would have understood the importance of working on themselves. And if they can't do it themselves, they know that they can reach out to professionals like you, who will definitely come at it from a different point of view and totally unbiased, like you said. And that will definitely help, uh, understand or resolve the issue and move forward in a positive way. So thank you so much. And I would also like to thank our audiences for joining with us and for tuning in. If you've learned something today, please like the video. And if you feel that someone will, benefit from this information, please do share it with them and help them understand as well, and help. Uh, so it's knowledge that everyone needs to have. And it's definitely positive to know how to deal with conflict and how to improve intrapersonal skills to communicate better, uh, whatever you have in mind, right? Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. See you next Sunday. Just subscribe on the button below, and